Hey guys, I'm here with another video about Worlds 2020. This video is going to be about some of my thoughts so far after 3 days of planes and seeing Group B conclude. This video is going to be a bit more analytical and in-depth than some of my other videos, so if you aren't really into that sort of stuff, then this is probably not the video for you, but you're more than welcome to obviously watch. So let's get into it. Also, just wanted to say I'll leave all my sources in the description below if you want to go check them out. My stats, some of these images I'm showing you guys, all will be in there. So I just want to relook at Group B and give some thoughts on some of the teams and how the placement kind of worked out. So obviously in first place we have PSG Talon. Now this team has been quite a joy to watch. The mid jungle has been absolutely phenomenal. Uniboy and Kongyue have looked really great. That being said, this is now quite a point of worry. Kongyue and Uniboy were two of the subs that PSG had to use in planes. But now that they are in groups, they can't use those players anymore. So now I doubt that the other players are going to be able to provide the same performance as those two were. But who knows? I could be pleasantly surprised, but that would be quite sad if PSG end up being a worse team without their subs. But we'll have to see. That's just something you guys have to remember. Second team, Unicorns of Love, I felt were really entertaining team to watch. Really cool creative drafting, but on the third day of planes, they kind of disappointed a bit with some of their drafts. I'll go into that a bit later in the video, but quite an exciting team to watch. We'll see who they go up against in their best of five. I hope they can make it into groups. I think they're quite a fun team to watch. Really a big fan of gadgets, so we'll see what happens there. Rainbow Seven have been a very inconsistent team. Nothing too crazy, nothing unexpected, anything like that. But I don't think they'll be making into groups. They just aren't that good. But we'll have to see. LGD, probably the story of playing so far. Obviously, this team has underperformed, and people are looking for them to mount a comeback going into knockout stages in planes. But we'll have to see. I think LGD need to stick to team fighting, scaling comps, and they shouldn't be trying to put Longshing on carries. Just get him on the Ornn duty. That's very much a band-aid for them, and it's worked so much in the past for them. So why are they trying to give him Camille or things like that? And yeah, Victory 3, I will be talking about them in this video simply because I want to make an example of what bad drafting looks like, and I think that would be quite an interesting point of topic. So here I have 5 images of some of the champs statistics going into World's Planes so far. These stats were taken from Oracle Elixir. Very nice website if you guys are interested. But yeah, I thought I would start by talking about the top lane. So that's in the top right. We could see that Camille has been picked the most, and she has a win rate of 63%. That's what the W percentage means. And that CTR percentage means the amount of times someone has picked her after knowing the other top laner. So it's the counter rate, basically. So we could see she has a 63% win rate and a 13% counter rate, which means that she's very often being picked blind, and she is not being punished for it. You can see she has 8 games with a 63% win rate and a 13% counter pick rate. That means that this champion is the one of the best top laners at the moment and super high priority. She's very good, obviously, and not many counters. Next up, we have Renekton. Champion, I think, extremely overrated. Doesn't offer all that much unless he's very ahead. And to be very ahead, the other top laner really needs to make some bad mistakes. But it's a pick that the pros really like for some reason. But you can see his stats aren't very good. He has a 43% win rate, and he even gets counter pick more than Camille does. So even when people pick him into what they would deem a favorable matchup, he's not really winning all that much. Now, next champion's Ornn, and this is the pick I really want to talk about. Um, 5 games, 100% win rate. He has second lowest counter pick rate. I mean, this champion is just super OP in my opinion. He super easy to lane with. He scales really well. Gives his team so much value and has a really good long range engage. He also just does way too much damage in laning phase for no reason. I mean, we saw Longxing solo killing and Renekton. That shouldn't be happening. But that is the reality. So I think my and then obviously we have a lot of other top lane champions. The only one I think that's really notable is the Shen one. I think we'll be seeing him a lot more, and I would like to see Gangplank more. I think Gangplank kind of falls in the same category as Ornn, where he's very safe, scales well, but the only problem with GP is he's not as easy as Ornn. So the player needs to be proficient at the champion, and then he can be really good. Moving on, we'll be looking at jungle. So that's top left. We've been seeing a lot of Nidalee first pick. You can see the counter pick rate. She's just been picked first, blind every time. And will get more into Nidalee a bit later on because I have something to go into with her. But she's just been super good as well, really. I mean, 67% win rate's not that great, but I mean, it is really good. But considering that she's always blind picked, it's really good. Like the fact that people are being able to have the opportunity to counter her, but she still wins is pretty huge. That either means people don't know how to counter her, or it means that she's really strong. I think it's a bit of both, but you know, we'll have to see going on further in the tournament. Like I said, I'll come back to Nidalee a bit later. Hecarim pick has been one that has been a bit lackluster. I think people are just putting him in any draft, and I think you need to draft around the Hecarim, as we saw in one of the games. I can't remember exactly which one now, where we had it was a super massive game where we had Cacao on the Hecarim, and we had Shen, Senna, Nort, Lulu, and the Hecarim hard carried, and that reflects in his win rate. People also just using him after like the jungle pool has been pinched, lots of champs have been picked, and Hecarim's still up. That's why he has quite a high counter pick rate. Graves, 4 games, 100% win rate. Not all that much to say about Graves. Has been a super strong champ all year round. People don't know how to play to him properly yet. I think the only champs that really he just doesn't really have that many bad matchups. I mean, it's not that he isn't counterable, but yeah. But once again, Graves needs to be played around with his team. But that's kind of how the meta is at the moment. We have a lot of carry junglers that need to be played around, which is quite interesting actually, because we haven't seen that in quite a while. And then we see Evelyn. The problem with jungle at the moment is you can see there's quite a lot of like diversity really. Lots of champs with 3. But yeah, we've seen a lot of priority in the Evelyn. Um, but yeah, not all that much to say about her. She's got kind of the same thing as like a Graves, that aren't that many champs that are incredibly good into her. She's just really strong with her perma invers, applying pressure anywhere where she is, because the other team just don't know where she is, you know. So super strong. But yeah, jungle all about carry junglers at the moment, and the junglers that don't know how to play carry junglers are suffering, and their team will suffer as well. One pick I would like to mention is actually the Kindred. She's been looking really strong. I know she's only played 2 games, but you know, she's looked super good in those 2 games. And people have, in the one game, they picked the Lee Sin into her as like some sort of cute little counter where you can kick someone out of her ult, but it's just like, besides for that interaction, like she still beats Lee. But anyways, moving on to the mid lane, bottom right. I have been extremely curious to see what's been happening in the mid lane. We've seen a lot of priority on the Lucian, and that's mainly because people want to play an AP jungler, and you then want an AD mid, and Lucian's the best AD mid at the moment. So he's been receiving a lot of bans and has quite a few games played as well. And he has like a 50% win rate, but he's definitely a very strong pick. But the thing I really want to talk about is this Orianna pick. I think Orianna, obviously 100% win rate. Yes, she has quite a high counter pick rate, but that's just coincidental, I think. She's not exactly someone who counters people hard, and she's just a champ that doesn't get countered, doesn't counter, super safe, super scaling, super good team fights. She's, as you've seen, Team Liquid have paired Ornn Orianna to great success. Those 2 champions just mesh super well. They do exactly what each other wants, and I think that's a super prevalent combo we're going to be seeing in Worlds. And teams that can pull it off are probably going to do quite well. On Orianna, the 2 O's kind of looking really good. Something that is quite interesting to see is the Zoe, being the second most picked mid laner, has only a 20% win rate. And I just think lots of games Zoe's just been picked because they don't really know what else to pick, and it's just they just pick him alongside a team comp that doesn't work for Zoe, like hard engage comps, and Zoe is just kind of not. She's more of like a poke champion, so she doesn't really like those hard engage comps. And also, if you're dealing with quite a beefy team, Zoe's also not that great. She prefers more of the squishies. So yeah, not all that much to say about mid really. Only the Ori pick has been super cool, for me at least. Moving on to the ADC, bottom left. Something really interesting has been happening. We knew going into the tournament Ashe would be super high priority, and you can see with the amount of games she has that she has been. But if you look at a win rate, a staggering 25% win rate for this champion. Now, this is a champion who has been super good throughout the year, and it's super surprising that she has such a low win rate. And to be honest, I'm not all that certain as to why. I think, yes, the Jhin Senna have pretty good lanes into Ashe, and you can see that in their win rates, but Ashe is still just such a useful champion and doesn't need a good lane to do well in fights. So I think that Senna is looking to be kind of a better version of Ashe, even after a nerf, which is quite surprising. But I think the Ashe win rate will pick up going into the tournament. I think these utility marksmen are kind of what's the meta at the moment. They are champs that wanna, just be able to play weak side and provide the team with you just by being youthful, not really needing all that many resources. But yeah, something I also wanted to talk about was the Twitch that has popped up recently. Um, Twitch, specifically paired with Rakan, who we'll get to later. Twitch has just been picked up as a champion who is a hard carry champion, um, but he has a really weak lane phase. And I think he's been being picked against these champs like Ayers and Ashe, who are people who aren't looking to dominate lane phases. Twitch then gets a free lane phase and gets to scale in. And I think that's why Twitch has resurfaced, because Twitch is such a hard carry champ, and it just means that he could scale in and just unleash in later fights. Also, something I wanted to mention about ADCs is how Caitlyn's priority has dropped significantly. This is very surprising, as I thought Caitlyn was going to be a mainstay in the meta. Um, she only has been picked once and lost that one game, and I think a possible reason for her priority going down is it's not the nerf. I don't think the nerf was enough. I mean, it did affect her laning phase a bit, but I don't think it's enough for the champion to not be viable. I think it's just more of a focus being shifted towards top lane, jungle, mid focus compared to bot lane, and you're seeing more utility champs in the bot lane. And Caitlyn wants to be played around. She wants to get resources. And I just think that doesn't really mesh with the current meta at the moment. But we'll have to see going into group stages what happens. Moving on to support, we obviously Rakan has seen a huge resurgence. He has a 9 games played, 67% rate, really, really looking good. Whether he's paired with the Twitch or not, the reason why he's being paired with the Twitch is because Twitch can go inverse and then Rakan can E onto him whilst he's inversed and W, and it just means there's a very fast engage that's very difficult for teams to react to. So it's quite a nice combo. But yeah, Rakan has been super popular, and yeah, support's a bit difficult to talk about. I think we're seeing many engaged supports like Alistair, Bard, Nautilus, Leon, and Rakan. Obviously, Bard's a bit different, seeing as he's ranged. Um, but yeah, these champs have been meta for so long. I don't know if I really need to explain why they are. It's just if you're not gonna have a tank jungler, um, then you need the engage coming from the bot lane. You need it to be the support. So yeah, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Moving on. So I said I was going to talk more about Nidalee, and this is a picture that I didn't make. I found it on Twitter, and I'll provide a link in the description to this picture, and it's just about Nidalee's itemization. Now we've been seeing a lot of Nidalee pick, like I've showed you and said, and she's often been paired with like obviously with at least one marksman, but often with two. And then the Nidalee will still go full AP. She'll go for the Rod of Ages or the Lich Bane or whatever, and it's just makes very little sense. People think that it's seeing as though you're an AP jungler, you need to be doing a lot of damage because that's the meta at the moment. You need to be a carry jungler, but it's just you can look at the picture yourself. You can see the AP differences and all this stuff. Just the support of Nidalee Ball is just so much better if you have a marksman on your team. It just you yes, maybe you lose some sort of passive damage with Lich Bane, right? But like the you're still sitting on even more AP than normal, and you're providing damage to your marksman. It and obviously support to the rest of your team. It just doesn't make sense to go for these Lich Bane builds at all. And I think it's something that hopefully we see later in the tournament that Nidalee start to build a bit better, because it just doesn't make any sense. So that's just something I wanted to bring up, and hopefully that will happen. Moving into a draft portion of the video, so I'm going to be looking at two drafts. And this draft is going to be the one that I want to show you guys because I think it's one of the worst drafts I have ever seen. Also want to say, why did Riot have to invert the drafts? Doesn't make any sense. Like visually, just doesn't make sense how the order is. But anyways, we'll deal with it. So we can see that V3 here have a draft I spoke about in the last video, but we'll run through it in order. So obviously we have something that's quite interesting that PSG do is that they ban out the Eve Nidalee, which signifies that they either want to go for Lilia or Graves, which is recognized by V3 because they ban them. But it can also mean they want like a early pick Ornn or an Ori, which they obviously do end up going with the Ornn. The set ban from PSG is just because V3 have been using set a lot, and it's just more of like a target ban. But yeah, so they go on here on R1, so red pick one is that what that means. And what happens is V3 respond with the Ashe, which I'm fine with. Ashe is fine. Ashe is high priority. I know her win rate's not that good, but I think she's still a good champion. And then the Renekton. Now that's the first mistake. I think lots of people think because you go Bork, Black Cleaver on Renekton, you somehow have like a good matchup into Ornn or something. But I mean, Ornn just doesn't care about laning phase first of all, but can actually 1v1 Renekton in the laning phase. So this pick makes no sense. Ornn outscales, Ornn's way more useful. Renekton's not going to be able to get the advantages he needs to. So yeah. So PSG then respond with a Senna Kindred, which is further scaling and further counters the Renekton. And Senna's been a good matchup into Ashe, so I like it. And the Senna's providing support for her Kindred. And yeah, the Kindred ult's obviously nice into Renekton. So yeah, not much to say about that. And then for some reason, Victory 3 pick Galio. Now, picking Galio, firstly, into Kindred, who can just ult if you ult, which means like Galio, I mean, sure, you knock him up, but it doesn't really matter if it's in a Kindred ult. It's just not a logical decision. Um, but yeah, now you've already revealed your you've already revealed your top, which is okay, I guess, if it was any other champ than Renekton. But now, I mean, you could flex the Galio, but now you have not picked a jungler in first rotation, which means that PSG respond by banning two junglers. And who are you gonna pick now in Victory Three's side? I mean, there's technically PSG banned five junglers. Set can be flex jungle, and then you ban two junglers. So what? Who are you gonna play jungle now? So they end up going with the Silas, which is I've explained to you guys the Silas pick is so bad. Its clears are just too slow, and it will never be as strong as a lane Silas. It's not gonna reach its item power point, anything like that. It's just not a good pick, and the Kindred outpaths it basically, just clears faster, gets her items. That's basically what I want to talk about in this draft. It just feels like Victory 3 were kind of picking themselves, and it was just not very good. And obviously, like, the Leona into Rakan's fine, but who cares at this point? It's not about lane-centric game. It's just that first part I really wanted to talk about. So the next draft, this is something I wanted to talk about, and it is that the Unicorns of Love in this game left up a lot of power picks, and the, I can see what their strategy was. Their strategy was to go for to leave the counter pick, I mean the power picks up, and then try and counter them. The problem when you do that is there's a reason why these champs are power picks, because they are very difficult to counter and they are very strong at the moment. So I don't necessarily think it's a good strategy, but let's elaborate a bit more. So we see that Rainbow Seven the three power picks and Camille, Eve, and Lucian. We've seen that those champs are good just from the stats. And Unicorns of Love try and respond with a Cassio Wukong. Now, Camille into Wukong. Sure, Wukong can like W away and it looks cute or something. Like that's okay and all. I mean, great, but that's not like that's not enough for Wukong to just hard carry the game or something. Like the Camille was smashing him in lane, and it just sure he could catch up at times in the game, but the Wukong just doesn't make any sense. And picking Wukong so early, Wukong is a champ that gets countered super easily just with like disengage and any form of like CC or anything. So this Wukong pick doesn't make sense. The Casio pick, in theory, should be pretty fine in Lucian. Once again, it's one of these like little cute, what I like to call cute counter picks. And what I mean by a cute counter pick is these counter picks where I'm just like, this doesn't, this isn't enough to make this worth it. You should have just either banned the champ or picked it. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Um, and I mean, the Lucian ends up winning the matchup anyways. Uh, it just doesn't really make sense. Like in theory, the Casio should be able to like, I mean, like prevent the Lucian from dashing or anything and stuff like that. But it's just weird. And then anyways, later on in the draft, I do like the Skarner pick into Evelyn, but at this point, you have your mid and top are just in losing matchups, and then once again, this isn't a bot lane centric meta, so you don't exactly want to play around the center. So yeah, I do like the Skarner, but everything else from Unicorns of Love kind of disappointing. I I get the strategy they were going for. I just don't think that was really it. I mean, I think you could go for the maybe for a Jax picker to Camille or something, and then you can go like Jax Evelyn here on the side of after the first pick Camille. You go Jax Evelyn or something like that. Or even just go Lucian Evelyn. That's like the best, one of the best combos in the game right now. But then you like give them Lucian Evelyn. It just doesn't really make sense. Anyways, that's gonna be all for my thoughts videos. Let me know what you guys think. I kind of just experimenting with this video. I'm not sure if people are gonna like it. Um, but yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.